Guys, welcome back to the Good View Woodworks channel. I'm Nathan, and guess what? Today we are going to bust this thing out of the form. I'm so excited. Check it out. Alright guys, so I'm going to kind of go over with you today exactly what we're going to do. We're going to break this thing out of the form, and then we're going to trim the edges to size to get all the rough edges out, and then we're going to plane it one more time with the router to get a perfectly smooth surface. And the reason why we're going to do that is it cuts down on the sanding time. It doesn't waste a lot of sanding pads. What we'll do is we'll plane it down, sand it down, and then we'll put the final coat of Stone Coat Countertops epoxy for the top. So stay with me, check it out. It's gonna be fun.
Next level.
Alright guys, so now what you want to do after you got all the sides off, gonna want to make yourself some wedges to put under here and hammer them in to kind of just release it from the bottom portion here. Here we go. Look at that. Look how awesome it looks. I am so excited.
Next level.
Man, it looks so cool. So cool. So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna trim the ends off and then router it flat with our router sled and flattening jig and get this thing nice, get this thing right. Here we go. I got my stop set up, my guide rail here, and what we're gonna do is take the circular saw. We're just gonna trim we're gonna trim on this edge. Just flush it up a little bit. I'll do that around all four sides, and that way it's square and we can prep it so we can start routing down the top. Gonna be cool. So I'm not exactly sure how much. There's a bee flying in my face. Man, I hate bees. Hate bees. I mean, I don't hate them, but I get stung all the time and I don't like to be stung. Can you see them flying around? Well, anyway, what we're gonna do now is we're gonna get our router sled out and plane this thing down. And you guys saw that last time. It's literally the same thing. We're just not taking off a whole lot because we're just trying to save our sandpaper. We're only going to take off just a little bit, so it should be rather quick. Alright, so we got our table set up to flatten, and I want to show you something really quick. Do you remember when I stuck those heavy objects on there to keep it down? It wasn't good enough. It was close, but if I were to give a recommendation, you should probably clamp your piece down in the form before you pour the epoxy. I'll show you. So I don't know if you can see this, but it floated up just a little bit right there. You can see it came up off the bottom just a hair on the one side. So not a big deal, but if you want it perfect, make sure you clamp it down before you pour the epoxy. Let's get to flattening. You know what I'm saying? Got him. All right, now that we got our tabletop planed down, flattened, it's time to go ahead and get our sander out and sand it from 100 grit to 220. See, that's why you always wear a mask. Whew. All right, so we're gonna get our sander and we're gonna get to sanding.
Next level.
All right, when you get done sanding, should look like this. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna flip the table over because the texture of the melamine left an imprint on the bottom of the table, and we don't wanna see that when we see through the clear epoxy. So we're gonna flip the table over, sand it on that side, and then we'll be ready for the finish. As you can see, the tape left an imprint, and also the texture of the melamine left its own imprint as well. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna sand this down and put some finish on this side first. Wait for it to dry, we'll flip it over and do the same thing. We're so close to being done. Just a few more steps and this is gonna be an awesome table. All right, the bottom is all sanded. As you can see, got it all sanded. Now the next step is, because the form made the edges real sharp, we're gonna take a piece of sandpaper. We're just gonna go over the edge here to round it out. And a cool tip is, if you have an X-Acto knife or maybe a razor blade or something, you can round out the edge by taking it like this and dragging it across. And all that does is knock the edge off it so it's not sharp. And now if you wanted to use your router with like a 1/8 inch roundover bit, you could do that as well. We're ready for the final coat on the bottom of the table. Now because it's the bottom, we don't need to use the Stone Coat Countertops epoxy because it's the bottom. It's not gonna get any kind of wear and tear. So what we are gonna do though is put some polyacrylic on the bottom, and before we do that, you wanna wipe off the bottom to clear any of the dust with isopropyl alcohol or denatured alcohol, just to clean it off.
Next level.
So instead of doing polyacrylic, I decided to use some wipe on poly, pretty much because I'd already had it and I didn't have to go get the polyacrylic, but it'll still be fine because it's the bottom of the table.
Next level.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and let that dry, and then I'll be back to flip this over and we can put the final coat of Stone Coat Countertops epoxy on the top. And you get to see what it looks like. So exciting, so awesome to be almost done. Man, it's a long time coming, wasn't it? 4 whole videos. So just like we did on the bottom side, we're gonna go ahead and wipe down the top before we go ahead and put that finished Stone Coat Countertops epoxy on. Here we go. So now that we got it wiped down, we're gonna go ahead and put the epoxy on, and this will be the finish coat. We're gonna go ahead and put it on real thick, spread it out, let it sit.
Next level. Next level.
Alright guys, that's it for this video. We're gonna let this seal coat harden, and then we're gonna come back, scuff it up, and do one final coat so that it's scratch resistant and heat resistant. So the reason why you want to do a couple of seal coats is because that wood is going to have moisture in it, and it's going to want to have bubbles come up, and you don't want to have bubbles in your finished product. So we're going to seal it so it can't bubble. That way we have a perfect finish at the end. But check it out, it looks so awesome. Thanks again for watching. That's it for this video. If you like this video and this is your first time here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Also, give me a like and hit the little bell so that you guys get notifications every time I post a new video. I'll leave a link in the description for the products from Stone Coat Countertops Epoxy. On next week's video, we're gonna have the final coat done, the legs on, and we'll be taking it over to the customer. It's gonna be great. And I appreciate everyone coming and hanging out with us. So until next time, see you later.